In today's video, I want to talk more about sample chops and how you can like cut up your chops, have different rhythms, and what you can do for variations. Just taking you from a beginner standpoint to a bit more advanced techniques. So let's just jump right into it. I'm gonna do Shift and Menu to get to our browser. From here, usually it will be on the program icon. You want to be on the files icon if you want to pull up any of your waves or anything else. You can just do the wave samples right here, but I find it a lot easier to find everything that you're looking for when you have it on file. So I like this sample by Lana Del Rey. So I can't play the whole thing because of YouTube, but Lana Del Rey is always a great artist to sample. You know, Harry Fraud sampled quite a few of her songs, and Harry Fraud is like one of my favorite sample producers. If I have vocals in my sample, what I like to do is use the tune knob and pitch it up. Let's keep in mind when you're pitching it up this way, it does change the tempo. That's not necessarily a bad thing. It's just about how your track sounds. So if it's a very fast track that you're trying to slow down to a certain BPM, it's good to use the tune knob. And if you have a very slow track that you're trying to speed up, it's good to use the tune knob. Now, as far as maintaining the pitch and tempo, you just want to go to Process and then go to Pitch. And from here, you can change the pitch and it will keep the tempo. Now, you can't preview it. So the way I like to do it is just preview it from the tune because that's still going to be the same pitch. Let's say you like this pitch. Blue, green, red to keep me at arm's length. You can easily keep that pitch and tempo, go to Process and put it up 3. But for this track is a bit slow, so I wanted to speed it up a bit, so I'm gonna keep it on 3. So I like that part right there, so what I'm gonna do is just bring this in a bit closer. You can use your fingers to zoom in, but I think it's a lot easier to use the plus sign and just go through it this way, because when you do it this way, you can easily get to your start and your endpoints a lot faster. Let's bring it back a bit. So here's another tip. Usually, like the beginning part, like I don't want it to just say work. So you're just gonna have to understand how to count rhythms backwards in a sense. So understand this one part right here leading up to this part was 1 bar. Technically, I'm starting on the 2nd bar, but I need to bring back this last bar into the loop, and I'll show you what I mean. So we're gonna count it 2, 2, 3, 4, 3, 2, 3, 4, 4, 2, 3, 4. Let's do it. 2, 2, 3, 4, 3, 2, 3, 4, 4, 2, 3, 4. So right here, I have 3 bars. Now, I didn't like how that first part sounds. Instead, I'm gonna actually pull this to get the 4th bar. So we can use pad 16 to loop the sample. So now you see that it loops properly. What I'm gonna do now is just process this and actually extract this chop. So let's just name this chop. Do it. Now by doing that, you will have it on a separate track. So you would just go up here and scroll to the left. Now, we haven't talked about tempo yet because what I like to do is also go hit on trim to get to the chop menu and then go to BPM chops. And then I just make a rhythm and then I find a tempo to that rhythm. So something maybe like this. So from here, I like the chops where it's at. I'm gonna just hold down Shift and press Convert and then new drum program using slices. Now from here, you want to go down to your drum program and switch it to your chops. Because if you just keep it on program 1, you're not going to hear any of your chops. You got to go to the new program that you created. Now, this is where counting rhythms come into handy because it's like, if you don't practice how to count rhythms, sampling is just going to be a lot harder and you're not going to really get more creative with your chops. Because I could easily find the tempo by understanding the rhythmic pattern, meaning that I'm going in quarter notes like 1, 2, 3, 4, 1, 2, 3, 4. Each hit is on a quarter note. 1, 2, 3, 4. And then I could just tap that out like 1, 2, 3, 4, 1, 2, 3, 4. The BPM is changing up here. Now the number does jump around a lot, but as long as you get consistent with one number, then it's going to be around that. So it's going to be somewhere around 81 and 83. I'm going to just try 82. And then you can also hear it with the metronome. So you can turn on your metronome by doing Shift and play start. There you go. We found the tempo just that easily. Now let's record that in, overdub and play start. So instead of pad 6, I might just want to go with pad 8. Just so it could resolve a bit better. You just want to go to transpose to go up. Now you can obviously hear a lot of low end in the track. So the first thing you want to do is go to this eye icon in the top left corner and then click on your inserts. We're going to pull up an EQ para. Now you can use a filter and stuff like that. We could go with a high pass filter. Let's just see how that would sound. So you could just mess around with the frequency and then the resonance. The resonance just add a bit more back of that low end that has been taken out. But also another one that I like to use is just the para EQ. And then go to the high-low cut. Make this a bit sharp. Start at 0 and you can hear how it sounds. So it's your preference on what you like to use. Sometimes I like to use this instead of the filter. It does give off a different kind of cut. And then what I like to do is just add some kind of effect to bring it more into your face. So you can do that with a reverb or a delay. I'm gonna just choose a delay real quick. There's a preset that I like called Follow Me. And it sounds like this. Now, obviously, we don't want so much of that effect, so we're just going to turn that down a bit. So you hear that, let you live, let you live. So it just gives a nice vibe to your track already. Now, let's just look at our levels. So we're coming in pretty hot and we don't want that. So I do want to bring this down a few dB so it can hit just below -9. And a rule of thumb that I like to use way back when I was on FL Studio is that if your melody is louder than a metronome, that's not at a good starting point. So let's hear the metronome. So a technique is if you hear the metronome, you want it to be at the same level or a little bit lower than the metronome. And it happens to fall at that -18 dB kind of threshold. So that's a cool technique that I like to use. Now let's talk about how we can add a bit of variations and even get more out of this chop alone. We don't always have to go and chop up another part. What we can do is just find different rhythms. So let's go to another sequence. And what I'm gonna do is just copy this sequence. So just go here. And then you just wanna rename it. I'll just rename it sequence 2. And what I like to do is when it comes to finding your different chop, you want it to still transition well from the first chop. So I would just go back to sequence 1, press play, and then make sure it's on the program of the chop, and then I'll just find a chop that sounds good with it. So let's just do that. So pretty much I'm just jumping back in, finding the chops that sound similar so that the transition goes well. And usually you could just use the same chop, but just have it have a different rhythm. The first one was quarter notes. Now I went into 8 notes. So it's 1 and 2 and 3 and 4 and. And then you could even add back in the quarter note towards the end, like. So let's just record that in. So you could just mess with the chops like that to come up with something cool. And you can mess with the drum pattern to make it fit that sequence. Even for an intro, what you can do is just go through your whole sample. Like. So you get the point. And even this will sound good as the intro. And then you just go right in. On top of that, what you can do is hear this whole thing in half time. So we could go to our modulation, go to half speed, and let's just play that. And this is dope. That could be the outro. And this another thing, going back to the rhythms, like it's not just quarter notes, it's not just 8 notes, it's not just 16 notes. You can do like a 1, a 2, a 3, like. Come up with a lot of cool chops when you mess with the rhythms. That's like a reggaeton rhythm. So that's why I said get familiar with rhythms. So if you like this tutorial, this was a short one, but I just wanted to speak more of what you can do with sample chops from a beginner to a bit of advanced techniques. Thank you for watching. Like and subscribe and share with your other producer friends. Peace.